Hi, I'm James McGuire, here at the RSA conference with Paul Reid, Global Head of Threat Intelligence at OpenText's. Paul, thanks for talking with us today.
Thanks for having us today.
All right, so I want to talk about some of the key cybersecurity threats that companies are facing, but first, please tell us what OpenText does. I mean, how does OpenText serve its clients?
So OpenText is a $6 billion a year revenue company. Mm-hmm. We have a historical background in information security management, and that really makes us a unique company. That perspective, understanding information management and where you keep your data, how you access your data, store your data, the importance of the data. If you don't know what you have, you can't protect it. So I think for us, the advantage we have over other companies is that information management background. You put on top of that our cybersecurity products. Now we know where your data is and the importance of it. We can help you protect it better. We're going to give you better cyber resilience by combining those two together into a single offering to you. And as a company, we can give you better coverage than you get anywhere else.
So you talk about something called next generation threats. What do you refer to when you refer to next generation threats?
So as we've seen companies move to the cloud, leverage supply chains more, look at federated identity, the threat actors have paid attention to that. So they're really thinking about it more holistically on how can we focus on you and the type of business you do, the type of things you use in your business against you. So for example, if I can compromise your supply chain, then I can indirectly influence your ability to do business or conduct operations or whatever it is.
Right.
And the type of threats they're using are very different than what we saw before. They're a lot more coordinated. They're spending more time doing reconnaissance. They're spending more time doing open source intelligence on you to understand, again, who you're using. So for example, a lot of companies have done a really good job managing their identities, right? We had identity sprawl for a long time, but now we've got centralized federated identities. That's been really great, right? Easier to manage, all those good type of things. But at the same time, for threat actors, they look at that as a single point of access now.
Right.
So now if I want access to your information in a CRM or in some other system, I don't have to go compromise 3 or 4 different locations. If I can compromise your federated ID, then I have access to everything.
Right.
So we're really seeing the threat actors focusing on that, focusing their attacks on that. And it's a really different way of thinking about cybersecurity.
I think the question that companies are really struggling with is, how do we protect ourselves against the cyber attacks? What advice would you give to companies?
So I think one of the things we've done a great job on, especially most recently, is we always recognize the importance of the endpoint, right? The laptops, the desktops, the servers, because that's where the attackers want to get to. We've done a wonderful job with EDR and other products like our web root products, Zix, and being able to protect that. What we're seeing now with these next generational threats is we need to start looking at global adversary signals. We need to understand what our adversaries are doing in terms of attacks against you. So we're looking at the concept of adversary signal threat intelligence, a little bit different than traditional threat intelligence, where traditional threat intelligence says, here are what the adversaries are doing, here's the type of TTPs they're using, here's where they're operating it out, here's the verticals they're focusing on. So as an organization, it's really good general information for me to know, but it's not specific to me. With our adversary signals threat intelligence, we tell you, this is what's happening to you now. So you don't have to guess, am I being attacked by this adversary or a different one? We're saying this is the adversary that is attacking you today. So when we do that, we give you additional visibility. So the big thing is we want to look beyond our borders, right? So again, great job, EDR, looking inside. Now we got to look out. And so what we're asking companies to do is work with us to define what we call a covered space, a protected area of their company that encompasses just not their main corporate, but also things like, do we have content in a content delivery network? Do we have content in a hyperscaler? That's where the attackers are looking to attack you now. They're going after all your presences, just not your corporate presences. So with our new product, CyDNA, we define a covered space that encompasses all that so we can see the incoming and outgoing adversary signals so you have a good idea of what's taking place.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the fact that companies have a more of a distributed architecture, like the cloud, like the home base, that creates more attack points?
It certainly does, right? Business has to continue, right? We really don't, to some extent, have control over our attack surface, right? We have to conduct business, but it's incumbent upon us to understand what that looks like. So with CyDNA, we're looking at those global adversary signals. There's other companies that do attack surface management. They do a great job of that. That's not what we do. We're actually looking at the signals that are coming into and out of your covered space to let you know what's happening. One of the things we're hearing from companies, one of the side benefits of that, besides just simply knowing your adversaries, what type of attacks are taking place, if we think about the level of patching a large enterprise needs to do every day, every week, every month,
Right.
there's only so much time, money, energy, and effort they can put into it. With CyDNA, we can tell you, this is the adversary who's targeting you with these tools and techniques, leveraging these CVEs and exploits. So now as a company, I can take and prioritize that patching over maybe something else.
More specific.
That's right. We're going to help increase your cyber resiliency.
All right, let's drill down into the OpenText product offering. What are the key features of what OpenText does for clients?
So we have products that span all the way from small, medium business enterprise, all the way up to large enterprises. We have products that help protect you on your endpoint with things like WebRoot and email with Zix. We have our Bright Cloud product, which is used by a number of OEM vendors for web gateways and firewalls. Okay. And then as we move up the stack, we have things like NetIQ, we have Fortify on Demand. And then, of course, the products that I'm more actively involved with are ArcSight Intelligence. And of course, what we're announcing this week, CyDNA.
All right, let's look to the future of cybersecurity. I mean, when you look in your crystal ball, what do you see evolving in the next, 2 to 4 years? And most importantly, how can companies get ready for that now?
It goes back to a lot of fundamental things we've talked about, right? So patching, it's taking care of your credentials. It's really the DNA of our company, being an information management company. Know your data. Know where your data is, know the value of your data, where it's stored, what's inside of it, and then choose the right things to protect it with, right? You'd like to have a holistic approach to your cybersecurity, but you got to know yourself first. When we look at where cyber threats are going, obviously generative AI is having a big impact on that. And actually in our recent threat report that's just come out, we talk about how generative AI is being used to make phishing and spear phishing much more effective, right? The volume that they can generate of that is significantly higher. We saw that this year. We saw volumes go up. Right. You know, we quarantined 7.7 billion emails last year.
Wow.
We see 700,000 unknown files a day. We're going to see more and more attacks. I think what we're going to see is more coordination between threat actors. They work really well together. They share a lot of information together, and it's only going to increase, right? As we move to the cloud and we see that we get better at protecting ourselves there, the threat actors are really going to look for a softer side. And today that's our supply chains. So they're really going after them. We've done a number of what we call situational reports with our CyDNA product for customers where we showed them that they've done a really good job protecting themselves. The adversaries are not able to target them effectively. Okay. But yet when we expand to their supply chain and we look at their suppliers, we see that that's where the adversaries are focusing, right? I may be $1 billion company, but I may depend upon a supply chain of small and medium businesses of 50 less people. They're not going to have the same cyber resources I do. Right. But the CyDNA product actually allows that enterprise to extend that cyber protection to their supply chain and help them understand the threats they're seeing, and then in turn better manage their own threats that are coming into their organization and be able to protect themselves, right? If I can compromise one of your suppliers, you may have a trust relationship with them already. You may just naturally accept their traffic, their emails. Sure. And I may never know as the consumer of that you've been compromised. When we put the CyDNA covered space over that, I then get visibility that, you know what, maybe there was an attack by a threat actor who's going to leverage an email exploit against me. So visibility is going to be key, and adversarial threat intelligence is going to be absolutely vital for that.
I'm wondering if we'll ever get to a point in the future, say 5 years from now, where it's really, we are quote unquote done with cybersecurity. It's really solved. The fort is in place. We don't need to worry about it so much. Will that day ever arrive, or is that too optimistic?
So I think that as long as we have adversaries and the adversaries want to harm us, we're never going to get to that perfect point. I think we can make it a lot harder for our adversaries by doing some fundamental things, right? Patch, separation of duty, credential management, all the fundamental things we've talked about, encryption at rest, encryption in motion, things like that. But to get yourself the visibility you need to see those threats coming, use things like adversary signal analysis to understand what your adversaries are doing. It's still important to have your threat intelligence. You absolutely need that. But you also need to know exactly what's happening to you. So the more visibility you provide yourself, the better chance you have of being protected.
Right, to get ahead of what's coming.
That's right.
Yeah. Paul, there was a lot of good material. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate you sharing your expertise today.
Thank you very much.